Next curve.
Hey everyone, welcome again to the Next Curve podcast. And in this episode, we are going to be talking about Qualcomm's big announcement of Snapdragon X series and some of the fanfare that we experienced at Computex 2024. And I am Leonard Lee, Executive Analyst at Next Curve, and I am joined...
I'm Dave Altavilla.
No, you're not. You're not. Clearly not.
Oh, jeez. This is how we're going to start this? And then where's Jim? Where did Jim go?
That's Jim. That's Jim over there.
Oh.
Whatever he says, I'm not responsible.
Yeah. So, yes, there is Jim McGregor of Tirias Research and Dave Altavilla of HotTech.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I got that right? Because you have...
Yeah, it's Altavilla. I say it the Anglo-Saxon way or whatever.
Yeah, and so where we all three of
Tell you
us.
what, next time I'll be Leonard Lee.
Okay,
There you go. There you go.
you might benefit from that, actually. But we're going to be talking about Qualcomm's Snapdragon X series, right? Which is comprised of X Elite and X Plus, right? And the three of us had the pleasure of attending a really interesting, very, very interesting Computex 2024. And the folks at Qualcomm were nice enough to host us there, and we partook in many, many sessions with the folks at Qualcomm, in their I guess you call it their entrance into the era of AI PC. So anyways, just wanted to see if we could wrap and riff on this particular topic and share with our audience some of the key takes that we had from Computex 2024 and what we experienced with Qualcomm's AI PC play. So anyways, anyone want to start? Any thoughts other than, oh my gosh, they made a splash.
They did. All I know is if Jim starts rapping, I'm hanging up.
Yeah, we're over.
Sorry.
He blocks none of that. None of that, Jim.
No. Yeah, none of that.
Yeah, no. I mean, talk about a fanfare. I think you hit the nail on the head there, Leonard. That their coming out party was Computex, if you will. Yeah. We've been getting consistent messaging and data dumps on Snapdragon X. There's more to coming, by the way. Yeah. On Snapdragon X for a while now. Lots of sneak peeks, lots of experiential stuff. You've had hands-on time with the laptops and actually run a few benchmarks yourself. But to see the absolute resounding support of the platform from virtually all the major PC players, HP, Dell, Lenovo, it goes on, Acer, and of course Microsoft with the Surface product line. Yeah. It's kind of mind-boggling. And not only that, they didn't just get these one-off SKUs that are at Best Buy. They got design wins in Dell XPS, in HP EliteBook, in ThinkPad, so these are top and marquee SKUs. They're not off-brand SKUs. And kudos. I mean, the sales team at Qualcomm crushed it. And of course, that's because they had the silicon chops behind them to drive these design wins. It's impressive stuff.
Yeah. Jim?
Yeah, we have to, I guess, just to clarify something, they've actually supported AI on the whole Snapdragon series for the last several generations. But this is a significant jump. I mean, they're using the Nubia cores. They acquired the Nubia group, who was originally working on server processor cores, but based on the ARM architecture. They came out with these Orion cores. So they've got a high-performance core that they're planning on using not just in PCs, but in smartphones and other areas as well. And this is, really a significant jump in performance for them. Both in AI performance with their NPU and in terms of overall CPU and platform level performance. So it finally put them really in that, general thin and light performance category with the likes of AMD and Intel. And they still have their advantages in terms of having, their low power expertise. So we obviously see that in the Snapdragon X series family, but also the fact that, they also, you got to remember, they still have the modem technology. So we are going to see a number of SKUs releasing with 5G modems as well. 3 that have been announced so far. I know of a 4th one, but there's going to be more coming as well. So they are still working on trying to redefine with Microsoft that whole PC experience.
Yeah. And you know what? It's interesting that they have kind of set themselves up to be the guys to beat, right? I mean, they've become the benchmark, and we heard that. I think Intel as well as AMD cite them as, hey, we will be able to either match or beat Snapdragon X Elite, right? And I think that's an unusual, interesting position for Qualcomm to be in, and I think that in and of itself is sort of a win. Right. And obviously, we still have to wait for these machines to come out. We still have to wait until everybody's had a chance to really test out these devices to see how these processors perform. And that the whole NPU thing is going to be. Look at this guy. You have a head start. Wonderful. This whole NPU thing is going to be a real interesting mess, right? And debate.
Interesting mess. I like the way you put that.
yeah. I think that's.
Can I quote you on that, Leonard?
Huh? Yeah. Why not? Why not? It is going to be interesting. I mean, because not these. I think you made a point in our last podcast, Jim, that these NPUs are not literally are not the same. Right? Not made the same, and they don't perform the same, obviously. And so, but establishing themselves as kind of like the center of attention was really interesting to see and unusual. And so, for me, that was one of the biggest impressions that I got. Dave, as you had mentioned, we've known about X Elite and X series for quite some time. And I think Qualcomm did a really good job of managing the messaging and expectations coming into Computex, especially off the tailwinds that they got off of Build 2024, where Microsoft announced Copilot Plus PC. So that was probably one of the biggest impressions that I got out of Qualcomm's presence at Computex.
Yeah. No, and actually, you touch on something with the NPU, interesting mess, and that's the fact. And Jim, absolutely right. Architectures are very different. I mean, heck, if you look at AMD's Ryzen AI 300 series, that's FPGA based still, Xilinx technology. So very different. But we're all marching to this TOPS number that's based on just int8 precision. And there isn't a model on the planet currently that uses just int8 precision. It's mixed precision. And so it's going to be very interesting to see how these platforms perform in the different applications. But yeah, Leonard, also a very good point. Talk about the sincerest form of flattery, right? Mm-hmm. In their competitors' presentations, multiple competitors, they're now being compared to as the one to beat, just as you said. And so to come from basically nothing. I mean, Snapdragon, 8CX series had a few SKUs for really low power, all day battery life kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And they were those off brand SKUs, or good brands, but, off the center of the road sort of SKUs. Yeah. And now they're like, bang, hey, we're here, and we got, Dell, HP, and Lenovo, and everybody's firing. And oh, by the way, our numbers are on everybody else's compare deck too, which is just wild. Just exploded out of the gate as soon as that Nuvia technology hit, as you noted, Jim. Yeah. Bang, here we are.
Yeah, and let's note, I mean, let's face it, the gauntlet was really thrown down by Apple. When Apple came out with the M2 and then the M3, and now the M4, they caught everyone in the PC segment off guard, and they really set the bar, and that kind of blew the PC segment open. And Qualcomm stepped up and said, we're going to compete in this segment. And to be fair, it's not just the hardware, it's also a lot of software from both the Qualcomm side and the Microsoft side to actually make this work. Microsoft claims that they've completely re-architected the emulator, and we do have to point out that most of the applications are still going to be emulated on this because it's not x86 based. However, they claim with their new Prism emulator that they can get equal performance on the ARM architecture, ARM compatible architecture, that they can on the x86. So it is impressive. It's an impressive feat by both Qualcomm and Microsoft to do this.
Yeah, and I think again, you look at Redmond, from their perspective, you got to do something about this Apple thing, and Qualcomm was the first in the gate with a performance per watt solution that could. So kudos, being at the right place at the right time, or just, hustling and hitting the target, the target as they were trying to execute.
Well, yeah, and it was an interesting, well, I don't know if it was really a gamble, but it's more of a continuum of what Qualcomm was doing, and a lot of it originating from the work that they're doing competing with Apple in mobile, is this increased emphasis and scaling out of the neural processing unit, right? NPU. And I think that just timed really well for Qualcomm, because they're the first to market. They will be the first to market with a Copilot Plus qualifying CPU and devices coming out in June 18th, and then that gave him that edge. And it's ironic that it's a lot of this legacy in mobile that is lending toward what we'll probably see as leadership on the NPU, especially for the energy efficient aspect of it going forward. And the other thing is, I think a lot of attention has been put on the NPU, but Qualcomm has been in this whole heterogeneous computing, XPU-ish kind of game for a while as well. And, Intel mentioned platform tops, right? Actually, Qualcomm was the first to actually talk about platform tops, right? 75 for the Snapdragon X Elite is because they take a diverse view on what AI workloads are. They are diverse, and they require different types of compute that are optimized for those particular types of workloads. And when we do look at AI applications holistically, we start to see a diversity of inference, and some of that being more optimally run on certain cores versus others. And I think that also plays well into Qualcomm's play going forward with AI PC, even though that isn't talked about as much. You know what I'm saying? Because of this emphasis on NPU. I don't know what you gentlemen think, but
well, quite honestly, we also, there was, besides the announcements around all these thin and lights, Qualcomm was the only company that didn't come out and give us a roadmap. However, they did give us kind of a surprise when they said, listen, we're going after every other platform too. So we know that there's more coming, and it's there's obviously some of the architectures they're going after with the desktop and everything else.
Yeah.
There's probably going to be a discrete GPU in there. There's going to be other solutions. There's going to be a bigger NPU, maybe even a discrete NPU. What do you guys think?
Yeah. I wonder if they're saving some of that bang for the roadmap for Snapdragon Summit that usually comes in Q4. Could be. But yeah, no, and Leonard, great point about the various, compute requirements. If you look at, AI workloads, not everything runs on an NPU, or I should say, not everything runs efficiently or as efficiently on an NPU. If you talk about continuous background NPU tasks like, screen, background blur and head tracking and gaze and all that, perfect job for an NPU. Yeah. If you look at something that like a large language model locally, sure, quick little bursty hits, but actually the GPU for large models is a more efficient engine for that quick burst hit that needs all the juice you can give it, and then it shuts down, so it doesn't eat up the battery. And then CPU does, has a role as well, and it will do well with, again, short, bursty, quick hits. All these engines are a requirement, not just we're so focused on the NPU now that it's like, people understand it's a complete solution that you need.
Yeah.
And we don't have we have direct ML, but it isn't necessarily efficient for programming to every different NPU that's out there. So it's still going to be kind of a software challenge. And, software guys are, I hate to say this, lazy, but, they program to the least common denominator.
Yeah. The least common denominator.
And rightfully so.
Yeah. So, or the largest install base, right?
Exactly. So it's going to be interesting to see, I really hope as these new AI PCs come out that these applications, not just from Microsoft, but from third parties come out that really take advantage of this, because I really want to see consumers get a good experience out of this, and not kind of that half-hearted experience we had with the first VR glasses. We want something that's a bang, and I really hope. And I know that Microsoft, I know that Qualcomm, and I know that the PC OEMs are all working towards this, and I really hope we do see that.
Very good point, Jim. Because now the stakes are really high. So not only did they get the bang at build and the Copilot Plus branding first out of the gate and all the support. I mean, even at retail, like Best Buy is going to already has major marquee sales access up front and center. And then the other PCs that aren't Copilot Plus are back here somewhere. That's coming. These things start getting out into the wild, people better have a good experience, or it's not going to be good. I think they will. I'm optimistic. I'm starting to kick the tires more directly now, but it's going to be wild to watch because there's a lot on the line.
Yeah. So, I have a question for you, gentlemen. What kind of role do you think Qualcomm's AI engine will play and maybe greasing the wheels a bit? I mean, obviously, we know that its benefits on the mobile side of the house, but what could its benefits and impact be as Qualcomm works with ISVs and developers to get, drive this adoption of MPU, whether it's a conscious thing or something that's actually orchestrated?
No, I would definitely agree. I think you bring up a good point, especially having the software tools to support their whole AI engine, and that comes from them doing this for years in the mobile side, in the smartphone side. So they have one of the most mature tool sets for developing on AI applications on. So I think that's a differentiator for Qualcomm.
Yeah, when you talk about recommendation engines and all that stuff that you've been doing in the Android platform for a long time now, Qualcomm's been knee deep in that and enabling it, with ecosystem partners for years. So they're no stranger to this software thing, that's for sure.
Okay, cool. Well, because I mean, the way I look at it is, as we look at the AI PC, it's a lot of this mobile DNA kind of floating up. You know what I'm saying, and infiltrating the PC world, and I think the other thing that Qualcomm talked about a bit was AI Hub. They got really excited about that. They had some demos on the floor. We had a chance to check out all the devices, but also they showcased a number of device demos and some of the startups that are developing on the NPU. Showing us, some of the applications that they've built. So, but AI Hub, what do you guys think about that?
Necessary, got to have it. It's an ecosystem enablement play that is a must, and so far, I think it's a good start, and it's one of those things where they need to continue to support it, expand it, and drive adoption, and get developers in. Jim?
I think it's critical. One of the things we saw with AI on smartphones was that really we were only seeing innovation on the AI front for the OEMs, the guys that had access to, all the code, all the software, and had all the resources. And you don't really get the innovation until you get all the third-party ISVs, all the guys doing this on their desk or in their garage or whatever, developing new applications. Yeah. So I think you have to have that. You have to be able to pull in this army, this huge army of global ISVs to be able to take advantage of this. Otherwise, and quite honestly, everyone's banking on this driving a new market inflection point and kind of new demand driver for PCs. And if we don't see those new applications, if we don't see that level of innovation from the software community, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. And the other, one of the things that I did take away from the brief discussions I've had around AI Hub is how a lot of the models have been imported from Hugging Face and other repositories, but optimized, right?
Yeah.
For Qualcomm, and the library is getting bigger. I mean, here's the thing. I don't think they need like a gazillion models. Right?
No, you just need foundational models.
Yeah. That are really, really good, highly optimized for your platform, and then maybe even map to the particular IPs that they run the best on, and I'm starting to get the sense that AI Hub is starting to bring that kind of benefit. Although in a lot of the demos that I saw on the floor, most of them were using like, traditional or classical ML versus anything generative. It's going to be interesting going forward to see that library start to fill up with more of the variety of different, large language models or SLMs in particular, things that run on device, as well as the vision models, and maybe even multimodal, because, Qualcomm, I think they might be able to toot the horn of saying that they were the first to run a multimodal model on a smartphone. So maybe we'll start to see more of those going forward as well, in the near future. Who knows?
Well, it's important to note that a lot of the major players here, whether it's Meta, whether it's Google, whether it's Microsoft, they're rushing to get open source models from them out there in the public as quickly as possible. Yeah. So porting those and optimizing those into something like the AI Hub is really going to be an advantage for developers.
Yep.
Yeah, and maybe one of those things that is not, there's so much focus, again, on the chips. Jim, you were talking about the importance of software and having the tooling. I think those are other things that we have to start looking at, especially as all this whole AI PC thing starts to evolve. We have to think beyond just the processor and a chatbot. We have to think about all the things that are in the middle, and all that stuff is maturing. But there's also a legacy to be appreciated, especially as we start to look at these different players and the competitive plays in the market. I think just looking at the chip by itself is probably not enough. Do you know what I'm saying? In terms of determining who has, sort of a winning position going forward, and how they'll track as all this stuff just continues to accelerate, as it has over the last year.
Yeah. And to Jim's point earlier with the app developer ecosystem, I think there's probably at least a couple of platform methodologies, if you will, or not methodologies, but frameworks that folks are going to drive AI innovation towards. There's the traditional stuff. There's the, okay, let's make the system more responsive to the user. Let's offload here. Let's AI optimize there. It's more the traditional compute, functionalities that will get improvements from AI. And then there's the innovation that is to come. And I don't know if Copilot's the killer app, but
we'll see.
I mean, and you saw some backlash with.
It sounds like Jim stumbled upon the killer app.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we won't talk about that, Jim. Until
it's a cliffhanger.
Give us a look
for later, Jim.
Well, we'll do something on that. Trust me, we will.
I'm sure you will.
But yeah, no, I mean, it's the new innovation that brings us a new experience, that brings us a new tool that enables us to do more with this computer, this compute device. And you need brilliant developers to do that, to bring that, vision to reality. And the tools have to be there for them to utilize the technology. So I think it's coming. It's just, you look at the backlash for recall that's out there. People are going to have to kind of open their minds a little bit, be a little bit more, I think, a little bit more, open in their mindset, because this stuff is going to reshape the experience. It's going to change things dramatically. And yeah, security is going to be part of it, and privacy is going to be part of it, and all that stuff. But you got to deal with it to move forward. Otherwise, we stay where we are. So
Yeah, I mean, but I think you do need to look at security and quality and reliability and all these things before you start shipping things out. The moment it's clear that so-called innovation is a priority for all those other things, and I think we would benefit from changing that mindset, because putting junk out there is not good business to begin with. So
or just enabling stuff out of the gate without thinking about the ramifications. If you look at Microsoft's little tap dance there, we'll flip it off by default, and you can flip it on whenever you want, or you can now isolate certain apps not to have it, or even websites. You can enable certain websites. Maybe it's your Fidelity account when you're browsing the web. You don't want recall taking snapshots of that. And it's personal information.
Right. But I think
they thought that through eventually.
Yeah. But I mean, I think these are all good learnings and a better direction that that players in the market, these quote unquote tech players, can move towards, right? And I think, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't know if you guys have any problems with, securing and ensuring reliable, AI applications. I don't think you have any issues with that, right?
Oh, really? You want to know? I'll be honest with you. I don't think that the industry has any clue to how to do that. The innovation is going so fast that any thought that you can put regulation, or that even you can put security guardrails and security features and everything in there that aren't going to be circumvented right now is kind of foolish. It is just changing so fast. I mean, the fact is, we're going to have to get there as an industry eventually, but the things are changing so rapidly. RAG, the retrieval augmented generation itself, changes everything.
Yep.
So it's going to be a challenge. I would say that the innovation is going so fast that we're going to have some missteps. We're going to have some big mistakes. We're going to have, people are going to get upset and everything else. But just like any other technology, we're going to get to a point that's going to blow people's minds. Where in 5 years, even we're going to look back and say, wow, what a difference.
Yeah. But Jim, that's why we have you in Tirias research. Come on, man. You're supposed to be thinking ahead. You should be able to see this stuff. Come on.
It's coming.
I'd even go so far as to argue that a major chess piece for the players will be who handles responsible AI properly, who handles security better. Those are going to be major chess pieces, because if consumers get more comfortable as a result of some technology that's developed along the way in this evolution, that's the win, man.
Yeah.
And we're going to go through major market inflection points along the way. I mean, I think 4.0. GPT 4.0 is a major inflection point that is going to have a huge impact. And I think we're between both hardware and software innovation, it's not going to stop. I think, thinking of what AI is changes every 6 months.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
Yeah,
you're right. It's not going to stop. And, bringing things back to, because we're going off on a tangent here. It's a nice.
What
it's going back to, going back to Qualcomm Snapdragon. I think one of the cool things that probably doesn't get talked about enough is some of the cool stuff that Qualcomm brings to the table when it comes to trust. They have a secure enclave. They, a lot of sort of this on-device confidential computing, if you can put it that way, or at least trusted computing. They have a lot of those capabilities, as well as things like TruePic to ensure the provenance of photos and promoting authenticity and tracking of authenticity of content. So a lot of these things that they've invested in. So, it's probably one of the more underappreciated things about what Qualcomm has invested in already in the mobile space that, I think easily they can bring some of that to the AI PC space. I think it's going to be essential, especially as we're dealing with all these risks, and the train is steaming ahead at full speed. I think it's a great opportunity for Qualcomm to come to bear with these capabilities that they have on that front to help their partners, in particular Microsoft, harden a lot of the applications and solutions that they go to market with, especially with Copilot Plus PC and beyond. So.
Yeah.
And that's a great point. The fact that they're bringing this expertise, they're bringing this knowledge from the mobile space, from the handsets. So they've been doing this. They've been focused on this for decades.
Yeah.
Well, amen. And I think there's two very different. It's a very different threat surface area now with the AI PC, where mobile. 5G networks inherently more secure, generally speaking, from being hacked than Wi-Fi or a network in general where multiple PCs are all connected over whether it be wired or wireless connectivity. So that's a different threat surface. It's larger and much more easily hacked, and I think that's the challenge they're going to face, but they've been, as you noted, Jim, they've been doing it for a long time, and they have the tools, and hopefully they'll bring that and lock it down for folks.
Yeah, that they will. It's just we know about it. I don't know if everyone else knows about it and appreciates it as much as we probably do, because we've been working, we've been dealing with Qualcomm for a while, right? And have a good feel for what they can bring to the table. And so with that, hey, gentlemen, any cliffhangers you want to end this episode with, where we've talked about Qualcomm and Computex and the big Snapdragon X series intro into the AI PC world?
Anybody want to hazard a guess?
Jim, we're all looking at you, Jim.
I'm just thinking, they threw that out there. If we're going after every platform, so every form factor, and that involves a lot of other, like Dave said, other SKUs, and it's going to involve other technologies, maybe discrete accelerators, discrete GPUs. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. I think Qualcomm has a lot more to tell us over the next couple months.
Yeah, maybe they'll strap a AI 100 on. They'll.
There you go. in a Snapdragon PC, sure.
Talk about like overkill.
Well, you saw that. Well, you saw them with the different form factors on display at Computex, right? And one of them was an all-in-one PC. Yeah. So we are talking. Okay, the transition to the desktop here. So that'll be fun to watch if they get there. And then of course the Snapdragon X developer kit is like a little mini, for all intents and purposes, a little small factor PC, form factor PC. But yeah, man, I mean, it's going to be fun to watch. I want to know who will hazard a guess at how well the sell-through is at the end of Q4 or, perhaps, into Q1, the next 2 quarters, what the sell-through is going to look like as we get into the holiday shopping season. Because those numbers are going to be wild.
And I want to know if all those Apple fanboys are going to switch over to an AI PC.
Windows?
Should I name anybody on this call?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, with a little Mac in the background there.
Yeah, I think some of them might consider it if they stitch 4 of these together using CoWAS and then call it the X Super Duper.
X Super Duper. I think we got to do better marketing.
Yeah, got to go beyond Ultra. Ultra is like passe. You got to go like ridiculous or something.
We have to go from the X to the Z series.
Yeah, 0.
Oh, there you go. That's
you might get a call from IBM, okay, with that one.
Or one of the automotive companies, yeah.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, hey, it's once again awesome to have you guys both on to talk about Qualcomm and the X series and the wonderful event that was Computex 2024. And so, folks, thanks for hanging in with us and listening to our conversation here. Hopefully you found it informative. And if you want to get in touch with Dave,
yeah, you can find me at hottech.com or hothardware.com. YouTube is hothardware.com, but also Dave A at hottech.com for any analyst commentary you would like. And you can find my columns in Forbes. You can find me in a number of different TV spots on occasion, whether it be Schwab Network, TD Ameritrade, or Fox Business. I try and poke my nose in a lot of places.
He's everywhere. And Jim?
You can find us on TiriasResearch.com as well as through our YouTube channel, our podcast, as well as our media outlets, which include EE Times, EE Journal, ECT News, Microelectronics in Taiwan, as well as Forbes.com.
Okay, I'm going to keep it simple for everyone. Okay. Follow NextCurve at www.next-curve.com and also subscribe to our podcast. We're on YouTube as well as Buzzsprout. You can take us along on your hike, your drive, your run, and on your favorite podcast channel, just go to Buzzsprout and look for NextCurve and our reThink podcast. And we will see you next time. Gentlemen, once again, thank you so much.